All right, so get this. You know that Arabic text you sent over? Well, let's just say it's going to be a fun deep dive.
Oh, yeah. What's so special about it?
The title itself is kind of a mystery, but hints at some pretty huge questions. Like, who are we kind of stuff.
Sounds deep.
But that's just the beginning. The content. It's all over the place in the best way possible. We're talking ancient philosophies, spiritual traditions, you name it.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Okay, so we've got ancient Greek stuff, some Stoicism, even references to ancient Chinese texts.
Wow, a real global mix.
And then it throws in some modern science, too. Quantum physics, fractal patterns. It's wild.
So what's the plan for this deep dive, then? Where do we even begin with something so broad?
Well, I figured we could try to, I don't know, maybe untangle some of these connections.
Yeah, like what's the message behind all of this? What's it trying to tell us about, ourselves and the universe?
Exactly. So, ready to dive in?
Let's do it. Where should we start?
Well, how about we tackle those ancient references first?
Sounds good to me.
Perfect. Right away, we've got these names popping up. Phaedrus, Zeno, St. Justin, even Meniphus.
Some interesting figures there.
You've been reading up on Stoicism, right?
Yeah, a bit. Why?
Well, a lot of those names are like major players in that school of thought. Virtue, living in harmony with nature, all that.
Oh, that's right. It's like the text is drawing from those Stoic ideas.
Yeah, almost like it's building on them, but then taking things in a totally different direction.
And don't forget those Chinese texts you mentioned, the Shu King and the Shai King.
Oh, yeah, good point. It's like it's saying, hey, these big existential questions, they're not limited to just one culture or time period.
Right. It's a universal thing. Everyone's been grappling with this stuff for centuries.
Totally. But there's this one term that really caught my eye. It keeps coming up. Archaeus.
Archaeus, huh? Rings a bell, but I can't quite place it.
Well, the text links it to Schliemann's archaeological discoveries.
Yeah.
And it seems to be talking about some kind of, fundamental life force. Like the energy that animates everything.
Oh, I see. Like a primordial principle or something.
Yeah, exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. The text connects this Archaeus to the structure of the universe itself.
Whoa, hold on. You're saying there's a connection between this life force and how the universe is built?
That's what it seems to be suggesting. Like, there's a link between the building blocks of life and the very fabric of reality.
Okay, now my mind is officially blown.
Mine too. But we're just getting started. Remember how I mentioned the text also delves into modern science?
Yeah, I'm curious about that. It sounds like quite a jump.
It is. So there's this whole section on the structure of the universe. And it starts by talking about something called the vortex theory.
Vortex theory. Now that's a new one. What's that all about?
Well, from what I gather, it was a big deal back in the day. Guys like Helmholtz and Thomson were trying to figure out energy and matter.
Right. Those names sound familiar, but what does it have to do with, the universe's structure?
I guess they thought the universe was kind of like a swirling mass of energy or something.
Huh. That's an interesting image. Is it like a precursor to modern physics?
Maybe. Because then the text goes on to mention quantum physics outright.
Really? It actually uses the term quantum physics.
Yep. It talks about the universe being made up of these tiny vibrating particles.
Oh, so it's like bridging ancient ideas with modern scientific concepts.
Totally. And to make things even more interesting, it throws in these terms. Ready?
Hit me with them.
Radiating, focalizing, dispersing, polarizing.
Whoa. Intense. What did those even mean in this context?
Well, if you think about it, they kind of align with scientific ideas, right? Like attraction and repulsion, composition and decomposition.
Yeah, you're right. It's like it's describing this constant dance of forces shaping the universe.
Exactly. So is it just poetic language? Or is it pointing to something deeper about how the universe actually works?
That's the question, isn't it? It's definitely making us think. What else is in this text?
Well, buckle up, because it gets even weirder. There's this whole thing about the Great Privation.
The Great Privation? What's that supposed to be?
It's a little cryptic, but I think it's referring to a state of pre-creation, like a void or emptiness before anything existed.
Oh, interesting. So like before the Big Bang or whatever?
Yeah, something like that. It's a theme that pops up in a lot of different spiritual traditions, actually. This idea of nothingness as the starting point.
Right, like a cosmic blank slate.
Exactly. And then, to add another layer, it introduces this concept of theosophia.
Theosophia. Break that down for me.
Well, it seems to be talking about some kind of divine wisdom or knowledge, like the intelligence behind the universe.
So it's saying there's a guiding force behind it all?
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
And speaking of guiding forces, we can't forget about the Trimurti, right?
Yes. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Creation, preservation, and destruction. Classic Hindu cosmology.
It's like this eternal cycle constantly playing out on a cosmic scale.
Exactly. Nothing stays the same. Everything's in flux, part of this grand dance of creation and destruction.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. But hold on, because the text throws in another curveball.
Oh no, what now?
Fractals.
Fractals. You mean like those repeating patterns you find in nature?
Yep. And the text connects them to a book by Peter S. Stevens, Patterns in Nature.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's saying, look, these patterns, they're not just in nature, they're fundamental to how the universe is built.
So it's like a blueprint that repeats itself at different scales, from tiny things to huge things.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And remember Archaeus, that life force we were talking about. Well, get this.
Don't tell me it's connected to fractals, too.
You got it. The text seems to be drawing a direct link between this fundamental building block of life and the fractal nature of the universe.
Whoa, okay, so we've got this ancient life force, fractals, modern physics. It's all starting to come together.
I know, right? It's like we're piecing together this giant cosmic puzzle.
And it's just the beginning. This is going to be one wild deep dive.
You could say that again. But hey, that's what makes it so fun, right?
Absolutely. I'm already hooked. So where were we? Oh yeah, fractals. Pretty wild stuff, right?
Totally. But the text doesn't stop there. Now it's talking about this electromotive force. Any idea what that is?
Electromotive force, yeah. Basically, it's like the driving force behind energy flow, not just in like electrical circuits, but in living things too.
Hold on. So you're saying the same force that makes lightning is also what keeps our hearts beating?
Exactly. It's all connected. And the text really emphasizes that point.
Interesting. So it's like saying we're not separate from the universe, but actually part of this like huge energy flow.
That's the idea. But then, oh boy, then it gets into the swastika.
Yeah, I saw that. Talk about a loaded symbol.
Right. But the text is careful here. It's focusing on the original meaning of the swastika.
Yeah.
Before
it was. Yeah. So what was the original meaning then?
In a lot of ancient cultures, it represented the cyclical nature of existence, kind of like the Trimurti, creation, destruction, renewal, that whole cycle.
Oh, I see. So it's more about that cosmic dance we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that symbols can have many layers of meaning. We've got to be careful about interpreting them without context.
Totally agree. But okay, then it jumps to DNA. It's talking about genetics now.
Not really. It's more about connecting that vortex theory to the building blocks of life.
Wait, remind me, what was that theory again?
Remember the one about the universe being this swirling mass of energy?
Oh, right.
Well, the text is saying that even on a tiny scale, like within our DNA, this principle of swirling energy and patterns still applies.
So it's like the universe is fractal, not just in space, but all the way down to our genetic code.
Exactly. It's pretty mind-blowing. And it makes you think about how science is always evolving. What we think is true today might be totally different tomorrow.
That's true. We're always learning new things. Speaking of which, the text even mentions dark matter. It's like it's acknowledging that there's still so much we don't know.
Right. We think we're so smart, but then something like dark matter comes along and we realize we're just scratching the surface.
Totally humbling. So, okay, we've got this universe full of energy, forces, patterns, and mysteries. But where do we fit into all of this?
Well, that's where it gets really fascinating, because now the text circles back to Adam Kadmon and dives deeper into the soul.
Adam Kadmon, isn't that primordial human from Kabbalah?
Yep, that's the one. And it goes on to describe 3 levels of the soul: neshama, ruach, and nefesh.
Okay, break those down for me.
Neshama is like the highest level, the most spiritual part of us. It's the part that connects to something bigger than ourselves. Intuition, inspiration, all that.
Got it. What about ruach?
Ruach is more in the middle. It's our emotional and mental self. Thoughts, feelings, desires,
So neshama is spirit. Ruach is mind and emotions. And then there's nefesh.
Right. Nefesh is the most grounded level. It's connected to our physical body, our instincts, our basic needs.
So it's like saying we're not just one thing, but this complex mix of different levels of being.
Exactly. And remember that Caduceus symbol we talked about earlier. The text says true healing comes from harmonizing all these different parts of ourselves.
Like an inner balancing act. That makes sense. But then it goes even further. It starts talking about how human consciousness connects to like the very fabric of reality.
Yeah, and this is where things get really mind-bending. It suggests that our thoughts, our intentions, might actually have the power to influence the world around us.
Wait, hold on. Are we talking about, like, mind over matter? Is that what you're saying?
It's not quite that simple. But there is some scientific research that's starting to explore this idea, that maybe consciousness isn't just a passive observer, but an active participant in shaping reality.
Okay, now that's just wild. So are you saying our minds can actually change the world around us?
I think it's more about recognizing the interconnectedness of everything. If our consciousness is truly part of the universe, then yeah, maybe it has some influence, however subtle.
Okay, that's a lot to process. It definitely makes you think differently about things. But then it throws in this whole other concept, temporology. What's that all about? Time travel.
Not exactly. Temporology is the study of time. And what the text seems to be saying is that our linear understanding of time might be totally wrong.
Wait, what? You mean like time isn't a straight line?
Maybe not. What if there are other dimensions or other ways of experiencing time that we just can't comprehend?
Okay, now my head is spinning. But this is good stuff. It's like this text is shattering all our assumptions about reality.
I know, right? It's like falling down a rabbit hole, but in a good way. It's so exciting to explore these ideas, even if they're a little mind-boggling.
Totally agree. I can't wait to see where else this text takes us. So, temporology, huh? I'm still wrapping my head around that one. It's like, what? Time isn't a straight line.
Yeah, it's a bit trippy, right? But it makes you think, maybe our usual way of understanding time is just too limited.
Like, there could be other dimensions of time or something.
Exactly. It connects back to this idea of interconnectedness. If the universe is this vast web of relationships, maybe time is woven into that web too.
I see what you mean. Instead of a line, maybe it's more like, I don't know, a multidimensional tapestry or something.
That's a great analogy. And it brings us back to that fractal universe concept, those self-similar patterns that repeat at different scales.
Right. We were saying maybe even our consciousness is kind of fractal, with these different levels mirroring each other.
Exactly. So imagine this. If the universe is fundamentally fractal, maybe our consciousness, being a part of that universe, reflects those patterns too.
Whoa, that's deep. So like the microcosm reflecting the macrocosm.
That's it. Our inner world mirroring the structure of the outer universe. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah, it is. It's like we're not just made of the same stuff as the stars, but we're also connected to the universe on this deeper, more fundamental level.
And that challenges us to rethink who we are and where we fit in. If everything's interconnected like this, what does it mean for our understanding of ourselves?
That's a huge question. And honestly, I don't even know where to begin answering it.
It's definitely a lot to process, but I think that's what makes this text so incredible. It doesn't shy away from these big, mind-blowing ideas. It just throws them out there and lets us grapple with them.
It's definitely been a wild ride. Ancient philosophy, modern science, spirituality, even time travel.
Well, not exactly time travel, but close. It's been an amazing journey through all these different ways of understanding ourselves and the universe. And through it all, this question keeps coming back: who are we?
Right. Like that's the central mystery that this whole text is trying to unravel.
And I don't think it's about finding one definitive answer. It's more about expanding our perspectives, opening ourselves up to new possibilities.
It's like the answer isn't a simple solution, but a tapestry woven from all these different threads of knowledge, from ancient wisdom to modern science, from the structure of the universe to the depths of our own consciousness.
That's a beautiful way to put it. I think this deep dive has really shown us that the more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know.
And that's okay. It's all about the journey, the exploration, and who knows what other incredible discoveries are waiting for us out there.
Exactly. So to our listener, as you continue to explore these ideas, here's a final thought. If even our bodies are fractal, reflecting patterns at different scales, does that suggest a deeper interconnectedness between all things? And if so, what might that mean for how we live our lives, how we treat each other, and how we relate to the world around us? It's something to ponder.
It definitely is. Well, thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive. To our listener, we hope you enjoyed the journey as much as we did. Until next time, keep those minds buzzing.